Hey.
That time of week again, it's Jahia and the Dugo.
Welcome to Gumbo, episode 4. Like he just said, is Dugo Jah. Here to talk about fantasy. We got a couple things to get off our chest as Packer fans. There's been a lot going on in the news and the media that we feel we need to provide the world with our opinions on our platform.
Yeah, so just to start out, T's and P's to all the Packer fans out there, just going through all the drama. I know not everyone is handling it as well as myself. I know a lot of people are broken over Aaron wanting to take time to make this really harsh decision. I understand that.
It is a hard decision.
You know, like, I don't know. Like, I give him all the time in the world. Obviously, it sounds like him and Gutekunst are on the same page as having this done by at least March 8th.
Hopefully.
Because they want to... Obviously, they need to be able to tag Tay or Devontae Adams if need be. So they know that basically March 8th, that's the deadline basically for this decision almost. So, yeah. So, I mean, like, I know, like, I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I know that regardless, I think that we are going to be in a good place. Obviously, the Green Bay Packers have always focused the quarterback. And so, without, like, a top-tier quarterback that we don't know about quite yet, we'll see where it goes. I mean, we do have two really, really good running backs in the backfield with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. Let me ask you something here, Jahia. Let's say the inevitable does happen. Aaron Rodgers does ultimately say he wants to retire, and or let's say he wants to get a trade. Let's say that his fiance, you know, maybe they don't call it quits. Maybe they do want to get married, but she doesn't want to live in Green Bay. She'd rather live in Denver or something. You know, so like, what if they do that and they trade him to Denver for like 2 firsts, whatever. But anyways, back to what I was saying. You have those two really good running backs, AJ Dillon, and Aaron Jones. Who do you think would be more productive in a end of Rodgers era type of Packers system?
I think AJ Dillon would be.
Because
AJ, the way I see AJ Dillon is he's the closest profile to Derrick Henry, who Matt LaFleur was the offensive coordinator for down in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. So Matt's a big, run the ball kind of guy.
Bruiser running back, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a lot of the reason why they took Dillon, I think, in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
Dillon is going to enter his 3rd year, so that's a lot of the times when we see breakouts with rookies.
Right.
And so next year, regardless of if Rodgers is there or not, give me AJ Dillon over Aaron Jones.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely taken that stride this year, and I know there's a lot of analysts already projecting that it's going to be AJ Dillon's backfield, and Aaron Jones is going to be playing second fiddle, which, I mean, who really ever thought that was going to happen? I mean, I'm not going to lie, folks. When they first drafted AJ Dillon, I mean, I just saw a big running back. I didn't think he was going to be like all this.
Everyone hated that pick.
Yeah, man, and it was right after the Jordan Love pick, too. You're like, oh, like, there's so many other wide receivers on the board. Maybe they just thought, hey, take this guy. Yeah. Get Rodgers his target in the second, and they didn't.
People clown the AJ Dillon pick just as much as they clown the Jordan Love pick.
I give people every right at this point to say to hate on the Jordan Love pick, but I can't hate on the AJ Dillon pick anymore. I can't.
Yeah.
Like, he's definitely shown his value. I mean, in the second year, he had over 1,000 yards in all-purpose yards. He had countless touchdowns. Really, he's proven to be like a really big bruiser back in back-to-back years. I mean, do you remember his game last year? Not like this past year, but the year before against the Titans, when he went for like 128 and like 2 tutties.
You think that was a coincidence?
I don't know, man. Like, he went off. Like, I'm not sure if the 128 is for sure the yardage he went for, but like, I know it was something around that.
Yep.
But like, he went off that game, and it was in the snow. I remember that game. Like, it was a really like prove it game for the Packers that year. And AJ Dillon was a big part of that win. So yeah. I don't know. I really like him as well.
For Packers next year, I'm really big on AJ Dillon. I wouldn't mind having Aaron Jones, so don't freak out if you're an Aaron Jones owner. Mm-hmm. I think he still profiles as a low-end RB1, RB2. However, I think that Dylan is going to get even more reps. He was productive with the ones he got last year. I think that if the offense starts to evolve, especially with, who they could potentially take at receiver, I believe that he's going to have a lot more running lanes available if they can get an actual threat on the outside of Devontae.
Definitely. Another question for you, Jahia. I don't know. I'm a little like at ends with this. What do you think happens with Devontae? Like, do you think we tag him?
I think he's going to get, and
go ahead.
I think he's going to get tagged this year, and then I think we'll re-sign him to a deal next year. I think we'll get him for somewhat of a discount, but I believe that just even for business, like his brand is most valuable as a Packer. If you're a Packer for life.
What ultimately happens to Aaron Rodgers then?
I think Aaron Rodgers has to take a pay cut.
That's fair. Do you think that he knows that, or how do you think the Packers organization is gonna make it look like a pay cut on the books, but still make sure that Aaron Rodgers gets paid? Because I mean, obviously they need to pay Aaron. They need to show him monetarily.
You just push him. You maybe give Aaron a 2-year deal, which is basically a 2-year extension. He's with you for the next 3 years, and you back his money up until the 3rd year. Mm-hmm. And maybe he takes somewhat of a discount when you sign that 2-year extension. So instead of paying him $40 million, you pay him like $30.
Yeah.
And that gives the Packers more room to go get you players so you can make a Super Bowl run in these last years of your career. I mean, he's made a shit ton of money.
He definitely has, yeah. And I mean, like, the State Farm commercials don't hurt.
Yeah, my man has, he's rich as fuck.
Yeah. I mean, he has the Adidas.
He's good.
He has Adidas on him now. Like,
he's at that point to where taking maybe $10 million less would actually be better for his tax bracket.
That's a good point. Aaron, if you're listening to this, man, if you need some financial help, man, let me know. I can help you out.
There you go.
Hey.
There you go.
But man, I don't know what's going on with that. I think they re-sign him for sure, but then looms the question of, I mean, let's not kick the can down the road anymore. What happens to J Love? You think we trade him? You think we just keep him back there and we just say, hey, thanks for being our backup for the last 4 years. It was good having you.
I think with Jordan Love, he's going to stay around until the end of his rookie deal, regardless.
You think so at this point?
I don't think that you can trade a first-round asset. You've seen him play maybe one game. A lot of the Jordan Love shit isn't his fault either, because I do see some upside. I mean, he obviously has the talent and has an amazing arm and has, a lot of power, but accuracy is a little,
That's,
it has to work up to that NFL level, but it's good. Mm-hmm. With Jordan Love, I think that the Packers would take a bigger hit if he gets traded or he doesn't play than if they let go of Aaron Rodgers.
What do you mean by that? Like,
I think they take more heat if Jordan Love doesn't play. I think they take more heat over that than if Aaron Rodgers is traded.
I don't think so at all.
At this point.
I think the reason for that is because, I mean, everyone has flops in the first round. That just happens. That's a routine thing for a lot of teams. So, like, not a lot of people are going to be like, oh, like, you flopped on a first round and you had to trade, like, a third. Like, you idiot. You fucking idiot.
But here's
I'm sorry. Like, I just don't see that. Like, if you let go of a generational quarterback, I think that's what people are going to be laughing at you for.
How can Love improve when in the last 2 years he gets no reps with the starters? He gets no first-team reps in training camp.
What do you mean? He just had a whole year of first-round reps. When Rodgers wasn't at training camp or OTAs.
Rodgers showed up by training camp.
He showed up.
He wasn't around for OTAs and all the
He wasn't there for that part, right? But he had 2 weeks of doing that while Rodgers was hurt. No, he had how many weeks of the last whatever?
Eric,
go ahead,
Eric. Love was drafted to be a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
You don't learn how to be a starting quarterback in 4 weeks of getting reps with the first teamers in the middle of May.
You're right, but you do learn how to be a first team quarterback when your quarterback gets COVID and he can't start because he has COVID and he's not.
And you know who else?
He's not vaccinated.
You know who else had COVID that week?
Who?
Devontae. Or I think Devontae was actually hurt. But essentially Jordan Love and Devontae had no practices.
Mm-hmm.
before the game. And as you could see on the field, they had no chemistry because he gets no reps with Devontae other than when Aaron is hurt or out for unexpected reasons, or it's the beginning of April.
Right, I know. Maybe I'm a little hard on the guy, but the biggest thing that I look at is, so when Rodgers had COVID, obviously he didn't practice that weekend. He didn't basically practice the rest of the year up until the playoffs almost.
Yeah.
Because of his toe injury, and because of that, Jordan obviously got all those first team reps. I doubt they gave him to Kurt. I'm assuming they gave him all to Jordan. And what I'm assuming is, like, the reason they're obviously you gotta chase after Rodgers regardless of how much you trust Jordan Love. But, like, dude, like, they're chasing him with, like, open arms, like, needing this cat. Like, they absolutely need him, it seems like. Like, they don't trust Jordan Love like they trusted Rodgers when they were doing the changeover with that.
Yeah, well, Rodgers, everyone knew coming in he was pretty good.
Right.
That's why they were comfortable with Brett doing these threats. Aaron Rodgers is essentially doing what Brett Favre did in 2005, 2006, 2007 to the Packers, but this time you don't have a Hall of Famer potentially waiting on.
Well, I mean, I can't say that everyone knew he was going to be a Hall of Famer and waiting behind.
He was a first round pick.
Yeah, but just because
he was projected at the top of the first, and he fell for attitude reasons.
But just because you're projected in the first in 1 year doesn't mean that you're going to be destined to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. Like, you look at Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner wasn't even drafted, and he made the Hall of Fame. It doesn't matter where you're drafted. That's not my point.
I'm just saying that Aaron Rodgers had a very well-known profile and a lot of upside coming into and out of the draft. So I'm saying that when the Packers had to switch to him off of Brett Favre, they were confident that they had somebody who showed out in college, who was a first-round pick, who was projected to go at the top of the draft. He fell for attitude reasons, which is, team's preferences, but in talent, everyone knew he was the best of the best. And you had him training and learning the offensive playbook for 2 to 3 years before he started. So he was comfortable with it by the time he started. So what I'm saying is, at that time, the Packers had a lot more level of comfort. Rodgers realizes that Jordan Love maybe isn't to where he was. And I think that Jordan Love could get there. And I think that he could be at minimum, serviceable quarterback. I think he's a cool dude. Showed a lot of potential. Obviously, he needs some work. But if you think about the full season for a rookie quarterback, they grow by the week.
Right.
They grow by the game. So you're looking at a Mac Jones. You're looking at a Justin Fields. Those guys, game by game, learned more and more and more and more. By the end of the year, Mac Jones was one of the best quarterbacks in the AFC. Because he started off well. He got off to a good start. But he had the ability to absorb more real-time information. Instead of him studying from a book, he was in the shit. So Jordan Love isn't getting that opportunity, let alone reps and practice with the first team, with the best of the best. So he doesn't know how they twitch. He doesn't know how they cut. He doesn't know how they move. And then you throw him to the wolves, essentially, when Rodgers gets hurt. There's no, precursor, no pre-warning.
Right.
And then my man is expect Devontae Adams to turn a back shoulder 10 yards into a post route.
Yeah, well, and I understand, obviously in his first routes, that's not going to work. But all I am personally saying is, in the grand scheme of things, when he had these last 6 weeks of practice, all I'm saying is, something obviously is clinking in Gutekunst's and in LaFleur's head that maybe this guy isn't going to pan out. Or maybe that's why they brought in this Tom Clements guy that that Aaron Rodgers learned under the first 4 years of his career, which I think is a really good move. I mean, Rodgers absolutely loves his quarterback coach. He said that they instilled the 3 moral principles of the quarterback. I'm blanking on all of them, but I remember one was never throw late in the middle. And so on and so forth. Quarterback stuff. I don't have that stuff off the top of my head. I was a lineman. But I don't know, the little things, and the reason Rodgers has so much I don't know, he's just grateful for those, and I'm assuming he learned from those principles. We hardly ever see Rodgers throw late in the middle, making interceptions. This guy never has a double-digit interception year. The guy's immaculate. So I don't know, man. Like I really, I like the hire. We'll see what happens with it. Maybe Jordan Love learns a thing or two if he's under or if he's with the Packers next year if they don't trade him for some peanuts or something this offseason.
That situation's so interesting.
Yeah, man.
Well, okay, off the Packers and into the draft, there's a couple receivers it's a really receiver heavy draft, especially, for fantasy players, but for the NFL in general.
Sure is, man. Yeah. Who do you want to hit on first this week?
So one of the guys I want to talk about was Kyle Philips.
Really? Okay, yeah, this guy.
I know you're a big fan.
I'm starting to become more and more of a fan every time I watch this film. I don't know, like I was really big on Hunter Renfrow coming out of Clemson, and this guy kind of gives me the same vibes, like as like an agile route runner, really just sticks to the route book. He can't really get a bunch of separation from his speed, but what he can do is he can make shifty cuts and. He has enough speed to at least get away from people.
Yeah.
Or at least linebackers, safeties. Probably not like a 4-3 cornerback or something like that.
Yeah.
But like he can create some mismatches in the slot. So I really like this kid. I think in fantasy perspective, you're probably not going to want him this year. I'm assuming in redraft, but when it comes to Dynasty though. I think kind of like how Renfrow progressed throughout his career, where like his rookie year he saw like probably like 30 catches or something, and then just so on and so forth. I mean, he's became Derek Carr's favorite wide receiver, and I don't know. I just I think this guy could probably see like the same career trajectory. Hunter Renfrow, I believe, was like a 6th round pick or something out of Clemson, so probably...
He's underrated, yeah.
Yeah, I would say probably see this guy probably around like the 5th or 6th round, honestly, as well. But like I said, I think in Dynasty, I think that's where you can kind of value this guy around like the 5th round or something. Like, I think you should get this guy if you can. I think he has some upside down the road for sure.
Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, what are your thoughts on Kyle from what you've seen from him so far? I absolutely love him.
If I had to compare him to something, I mean, he kind of even looks physically like Hunter Renfrow.
Sure does.
Like he's got the Hunter Renfrow lineup.
Mm-hmm.
My man got that's Hunter Renfrow 2.0.
Yeah, man.
But he's 5'11", he's 190. He's a shifty guy. He seems like, he has some decent pickup speed.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't seem super fast for the league, so he's going to have to be immaculate on his route runs.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I can expect that out of the gate.
For sure. No, not out of the gate for sure. I don't think so.
In fantasy leagues, I think he goes probably towards the 5th round, maybe.
Yeah, honestly, he might go undrafted in Dynasty.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think once he finds his spot, I don't know. Like, maybe... I don't know, man. I haven't said this before, but I wasn't in our Dynasty League when Hunter Renfrow was in the league or getting drafted. So I'm not sure, like, how you guys felt of him then. I can't really say what I would have felt of him when he was coming out of the draft.
Cooper Kupp went really early, too.
That's fair. I guess I don't know, man. Like, I guess I don't really know what the value was of him in Dynasty that year.
For sure. I don't think it's going to be as high as like a Garrett Wilson.
No, absolutely not. But that's great that you bring him up. I think he's an absolute stud. How high do you think he goes in Dynasty? And how high would you take him in redraft?
Dude, he's the best receiver coming into the draft.
So he's like the Jamar Chase of this draft, basically? Okay.
Yeah, he's going to work no matter where he goes.
Mm-hmm.
He's projected in a couple mock drafts to go to either the Jets, I believe the Jets have the 10th pick of the draft, so 1st round, or the Browns at 13.
For sure.
Now, the Browns really need a wide receiver 1.
They definitely. Yeah.
And Garrett Wilson happened to play for the Buckeyes, so he's from Ohio. Great marketing. He's kind of built into the fan base already. The fan base is going to...
They know him.
They know who he is. So I think that the Browns would take him if he's available at 13.
Mm-hmm.
But he's going to be the best receiver in the draft. I mean, he played for Ohio State. He was obviously the standout receiver there in a program where you're already playing against the best of the best every day in practice.
Right.
Garrett can do it all. Like he has great hands, so he can catch most balls. He's aware of his surroundings. He toe taps like any second to none. He is one of those prospects to where if I had the 1-1 or the 1-2,
you'd think about it.
I would probably pop on it.
Really?
I think so.
Are you talking about like in Dynasty, or are you talking
Dynasty?
About okay.
In Dynasty, if Garrett Wilson was available at the 1-1, 1-2, I'd probably do it. You always feel better with those kind of picks when it's somebody that you believed in from the rip.
For sure.
So that's an emotional decision. Yeah. But Garrett Wilson, I mean, he has a pretty decent profile. He's 6 feet tall, 190. He played against top end competition, and he was amongst the best of the best.
Yeah.
He's one of those players to where I don't think you can really go wrong. He's going to work in any system that he, goes into. And if I'm thinking about just where he ranks amongst this receiver class, even though it's a deeper class, he possesses the most. He's going to have the most opportunity because of his draft capital, but because of his talent, he's going to be the closest thing to Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, who, were the standout receivers from the previous 2 draft classes.
Definitely. Yeah, I think, there's not much really I can add to that. I think you kind of nailed it on the head. I mean, he definitely looks like the best prospect as far as, just all, like, the characteristics you can look at as far as just getting separation, route running. It looks like he's a pretty solid blocker, too. It doesn't look like he shies away.
No.
No. I don't know. Like, to be honest, when I was watching college football throughout, like, the season, I honestly thought that Chris Olave was always the number 1 receiver on the Buckeyes. And then I always, like, saw, like, this Garrett Wilson pop out. I was just like, it'd be cool if the Packers would draft him. But, like, now, like, everyone's looking at, like, Garrett Wilson going, like, top end first round. It's like, shoot, man. Like, maybe this guy is more special. But I don't know. Like, I always thought that Garrett Wilson was better. And they always flexed on Chris Olave, it seemed like, during, like, the telecast. Honestly, man, like, they were always pumping this guy up. And, like, it was because he was just burning down the field. And,
he was probably more exciting.
Yeah, honestly. But, like, I don't know, man. But let's talk about let's talk about 2 people that I am honestly really, really excited about. So these 2 people, they're basically the tandem coming out of the University of Georgia. They're the running back tandem, and Zamir White and James Cook. James Cook, I believe he's like the brother or the cousin of Delvin Cook. So, you got some bloodline in there. You got a running back family there.
They both play for Georgia.
Yeah, man. And you have Zamir White as well. He's been proven to be a really good running back in that system. Tell me about what you kind of think about these cats from the film that you've seen. Tell me a little bit of your outlook on them. I'm really excited to hear about this.
So, I'm gonna have somewhat of a hot take. So, take it how you want to take it. But when I look at Zamir and when I look at James, I really see James Cook is Dalvin Cook's brother. He's coming into the NFL. Just me probably thinking way too deep into it. He has somebody who has NFL experience. They can train him on how to work out. They grew up essentially playing the game together. So he's going to come into the league with a couple more advantages. He's going to have a better agent. He's going to have a better training regimen. He's going to understand what he needs to do from the rip if he wants to have success. James Cook, as a runner, is probably nothing too crazy. Like, he's a good change of pace back in an NFL committee. But his catching is elite. And when I say elite, I mean the best of the best. This man catches just as well as Dalvin Cook does, if not better. And because of that, he's going to have the versatility to play in the backfield as a receiving back. You can throw him in the slot as an extra option on an audible. You can put him out wide if you just want to take a DB from outside the box. And so he's one of those backs to where he's going to adjust into the NFL, I think, better.
Interesting.
Because he's obviously familiar with being in a committee. With that familiarity, you understand how to get into those rhythms within, like a burst, kind of. You don't need 20 to 25 reps to get hot and get that one breakaway run.
Sure.
You know how to come in and out of that. But also, he played against top-end competition. They won the national championship last year. Georgia did, with these two guys leading the field. And Zamir White's another good back. He's kind of more the all around guy, I'd say. He's probably the better runner. I think.
Yeah, like the actual running back, but like if you want to utilize this guy in like other positions, just stuff like that. I definitely understand what you're talking about between the two. I would say Zamir. I'm not sure exactly. We haven't really looked at their 40s, or at least I haven't. I think he probably clocks a little faster than what he does. He's 6 foot 215, so he's right in that medium spot of where you want to see those running backs at. I don't know. Like, he gives you, like, that happy medium of where he's not, like, a typical, like, 6'2", 220 bruiser. But, like, he packs some weight when he goes through. Like, we saw that one clip against Auburn where he just absolutely runs through that one guy. I'm not sure if he was, like, a defensive back on, like, a blitz or if he was a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
But, like, dude, like, he just runs through him, and then it looks like he runs through another linebacker in that same play for that touchdown. Mm-hmm. So it seems like he has a nose for the touchdown. He really likes to score. He understands that he's going to score or he's going to make money that way, so he must be a smart back. That's exactly what we want to see.
Yep.
Exactly. Another thing that I've absolutely loved about Georgia backs in the past is you can probably pick these guys up a little later in dynasty drafts. Just because you don't really see the same output that you do as like a James White or something like that. That's like a prototypical back. But one thing that Kirby Smart, it seems like he always preaches this to his backs when he's recruiting, is that you're not going to really see a lot of touches, your first couple of years. You're probably going to see some during your junior year and senior year, and you're going to have to make the most out of it. But obviously, you come in fresh to the NFL, and that just makes you so much more versatile for the team that you go to, where you're gonna make money at. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited to see these two. They seem like they're still extremely fresh, not really beaten up. Mm-hmm. I'm excited for the draft, I'm excited for the combine, so we can really see where the guys measure at.
Yep. And so for you guys who may be familiar with Player Profiler. They're an amazing site. They do a bunch of like really specific advanced like statistics on players as far as, their breakout age, their college dominator percentage, some of their more specific stats. When you look at the two of them, both James Cook and Zamir White, the college dominator percentage for Zamir White was about 19.8%. And for James Cook, it was around 16.5%. Anything less than 20 to 25 says that you're probably like a late round talent. Mm-hmm. So I would imagine for fantasy drafts, they're probably going to be projected to go anywhere between, probably nowhere in front of like the third round.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't think
probably fourth or fifth round picks.
Yeah, I think these guys. I think they're probably going to be drafted well before Kyle Philips that we just talked about. But I think these guys are definitely going to be like some later round talent though. So like if you're looking for running backs and like, let's say like you are like kind of like heavy on running backs right now, but they're getting older.
Yeah.
And you need some people to kind of like sit on for a bit. Maybe you have like a taxi spot open.
Yeah.
You could definitely throw one of these cats in there and just kind of see what they do for 2 years. I think by the second year, I think they definitely should be popping out.
I want to say something else about the college dominator too. So I kind of somewhat just explained it, but I have the actual definition here pulled up, and I'm going to explain to you why I think this is important. The college dominator rating represents a player's market share of their team's offensive production. So when you have a 19% college dominator rating, that says that you were worth probably, around 19% of the offense when you were on the field. If you have something of 16, that means you're around 16%. Now, in theory, that's a good percentage. I mean, you're almost involved 1 out of every 5 plays. But with the way the college dominator rating works, is obviously the higher the rating, the more responsible you are for a certain, type of offense, the more valuable you can be. Because if you have a lion's share of the touches in college, you should hypothetically be able to do it in the NFL. Mm-hmm. A 35% or more shows that a wide receiver has the potential to be the team's number one, receiver on the field. Mm-hmm. 20 to 35% is a mid-level talent with situational upside. So if the team's down and they just need to toss the ball up a lot, all that kind of stuff. Less than 20% is technically a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
For receivers and tight ends, the dominator rating is the percentage of the team's receiving production.
Mm-hmm.
And then for running backs, it's the percentage of total offensive production because running backs are involved in both the running and passing game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, both these players have a breakout age. Breakout age is essentially when the player becomes somewhat of a leader in their respective field.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen until either of them were essentially seniors.
Right.
So their committee could more so have been about talent, as opposed to that's just what Kirby Smart does, and that's what he preferred. I think that if you had the situation of like a Nick Chubb,
mm-hmm.
you probably would have had more of a solo back. But just from there's guys, quote unquote player profiles,
mm-hmm.
neither of them kind of tally up as a person who's gonna really ever be a workhorse back.
For sure. And I mean, that very well could have been, but I think that scheme that they had, it was good enough to get them into the national championship and win the game. So obviously, whatever they were doing was productive enough to go against a number one defense like Bama, and just do what they did all season long. So
True.
That's just why I'm a little high on these guys. I really enjoy their offensive line too. I think that's something what they'll be seeing more in the NFL. So I mean, whatever blocking you're seeing with them in the film, that's probably what is going to be translating to the NFL. So it's easier to watch for that type of stuff.
I agree. And
go ahead.
I was going to say the reason I just wanted to point that out, I'm not necessarily saying they are or not
Mm-hmm.
are not going to be great players, but the reason I like to point that out is because those are useful tools that I like to look at for running backs, especially because it's harder to project running backs when they come into the NFL as opposed to receivers. So if you guys are like me and you have that struggle of trying to find that sleeper running back, trying to find that back that you should consider taking, in the first round, second round, third rounds, those are tools on Player Profiler that you can use to really help make that decision, I guess, more guided. Mm-hmm. And it can come in use every once in a while. So
absolutely, man. Yeah, I mean, you got to consider everything coming into the draft when you're there. It has to be feel. It has to be what stats have you looked at all year while you're recruiting these guys.
Yep.
I don't know, man. Like when you're scouting these cats, they have to fit what you want, and especially if you're in a dynasty, you gotta look at what holes you might have in the future, what people you want. I don't know, man. But like these cats, like if you got some late round picks that you can just throw some flyers on, I think these guys are worth those for sure. If you're in a predicament like that. Otherwise, if you're like Jahia with absolutely no draft capital, and if you need like an absolute back that needs a hit,
that's hate.
Maybe these cats might not be exactly that. But what back are you gonna hit on the fourth that is absolute hit?
I mean,
other than like maybe like Elijah Mitchell or something, which
Ramondre Stevenson was a late round pick. Khalil Herbert.
Okay,
it could happen. It could happen. Y'all hating. Speaking of running backs, there's a couple guys I want to talk about that are already in the league that people probably already have on their dynasty teams. And the first one is Alexander Mattison.
For sure, man. Yeah, he's a really good back. I like him. Speaking of Cooks, obviously you have Dalvin Cook at the lead back there in Minnesota. Honestly, I'm not going to lie. I think it's going to be more of a dual back system this year with this new head coach. I think he's going to probably try to implement what they did in LA. And with that, they basically went to kind of a dual back scheme. I'm not sure if that was by choice or if that was just out of necessity because they weren't getting a lot of production. And obviously Dalvin Cook, he's a production master. All he does is produce. But I think Kevin O'Connell, he's going to find the right balance. I think he's going to want to utilize Mattison because he's extremely productive when he's out on the field. So I'd be surprised if he doesn't try to utilize him more than they have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what are your upside on Alexander? I think
extremely high.
Yeah,
because here's the thing about him, and I know a few things about the Vikings, and I know right now they're about $14 million over the cap.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have to cut salary at some point. I know the salary cap in the NFL probably isn't even real.
No.
They always find a way to manipulate it, but if you want to think about it or theorize about it, they could potentially cut Dalvin Cook. They would save, like $2-3 million this season.
There's no way that they would.
But check it out.
Cut him. They would trade him.
Check it out. Trade him. But next year, if they got him off their roster, they would save about $8 million.
Yeah.
That's like worth about two to three players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. Like next year, I mean, Dalvin, he's been hurt every year. I'm not sure if you want to really take another. I don't know.
I think this season is extremely important for Dalvin Cook owners, and if you're a Dalvin Cook owner, I think you sell him early as opposed to selling him late. I'm not saying he's going to fall off, but the man is into his second contract now.
Mm-hmm. Well into his second contract.
They're paying him big money, and they're going to save $8 million if they can get him off their books next year. $8 million is pretty significant in the NFL.
True, but I mean, we've been seeing that, running backs are getting paid more and more as it comes. I mean, Aaron Jones, obviously, he's in his second contract now. I think he signed it like 2 years or so ago, and I think Dalvin, signed his the year before or something.
Mm-hmm.
But Aaron Jones is getting paid like 10 plus.
Yeah,
I think, and so I don't know. Like I think they're kind of getting a steal with like an 8 mil hit still. I think Dalvin's still productive enough, and I think maybe we'll see that this season. But I think if you still have those two backs with Alexander Mattison, unless his contract is up, I'm not sure if it is.
Mattison's contract is up after this next season.
Okay, so you're basically looking at which one do you want to keep at that point. And so, maybe at that point they do run a dual back system and they play it out like, hey, which one do we want?
If you can get your hands on Alexander Mattison this offseason, you buy him.
Yeah.
You buy him however you got to buy him, and if you can get rid of Dalvin Cook this year, it's going to suck for the first year, and everyone in your league is going to make fun of you for trading away Dalvin Cook after he pops off to be like the RB 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it is. Yeah. But long term, you're going to thank yourself, and you're going to get a lot more value than you're going to get next offseason.
So walk me through this. If you're in the hands of the GM here, in Dynasty, what do you trade Dalvin Cook for?
Multiple firsts.
Multiple firsts still, you think?
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay. And what about Alexander Mattison? If you're trying to get off of him, like to try to sell him high right now?
You could get him for sure with the second and potentially an early third if you package it with the player that the other team could pop in and use. So. And
would you be willing to let's say a team gets a little greedy, they kind of have a feeling that Alexander Madison's going to pop too, and let's say like they have like a late round first, like a 110, would you trade him for
Mattison? You would have to, because at the moment he's not the guy that you project him to be, and you can only deal with facts in the moment. Mm-hmm. So in the moment, if you're giving me a first rounder for Alexander Mattison, I have to take that first rounder, I feel like, because I can still get top end talent who can produce just as long, if not longer.
For sure. But what if like someone says, I want to scoop on him before he has all this value?
Whoa.
What if they offer you like a third and like a fourth? Like, do you think that slides? Or
you can't do that. You're an idiot if you do that.
Even before this offseason?
Don't trade Alexander Mattison for anything less than a second. Anything less than a second, you're dumb. He's gonna... Okay, so think about it like this. Dalvin Cook's been the man in Minnesota. Cool, whatever. Mattison plays a couple games a year. All fine and dandy. My man doesn't have much mileage on his legs. Mm-hmm. I want to say he was in a committee when he played...
He went to Boise State. I'm not sure if he was in a committee, though. I thought he thought he went pretty high because he wasn't in a committee.
Historically, too, with his production, he seems to essentially pop out every time Dalvin Cook's not available and he's the primary running back. So some team is going to want to take him as their primary option when they give him a second contract. Now, he's set to make about $1 million, I think, this year with the Vikings, and that's a pretty cheap deal for him. But even if he pops off this year, you could probably get him as the Vikings for less than Dalvin Cook's annual hit. Dalvin Cook is worth $8 million. You could probably get Mattison for about $5 million over a 3-year deal, 4-year deal.
No way.
With some sort of a signing bonus that would go away if he didn't sign 1 year?
Not a chance. No, I don't think that Alexander Mattison was signed for anything less than like 8 or 9.
But he doesn't have the production. Like a David Montgomery, who's going into a second contract, has the production to where he's going to get paid around that Joe Mixon mark.
Yeah, but I mean, he hasn't been given the opportunity, and so I mean, his agent, if he has a good agent, could stress that.
But that contract would have to come within the Vikings.
It wouldn't have to.
It wouldn't have to, but he'd get his best contract with the Vikings.
Probably, yeah.
And the year that he goes into contract negotiations, Dalvin Cook is set to be a $8 million savings if you trade him.
Yeah.
What are you paying him? 12? I think he's making, because he signed a 4-year, 48 deal.
Yeah.
So 12, he's making 12 a year.
Mm-hmm.
But if you cut him, you save 8.
Yeah.
And I don't think his contract's guaranteed that deep into it. I'm not sure about that. I could be wrong, but the reason that's important is because Mattison's in the system. He has less reps on his legs. He's going to be cheaper.
Well, it's a brand new system, dude. Like, they're bringing a whole new offense with Kevin O'Connell. Like, they just brought in a whole new offense, a whole new system. There's going to be a whole new defense. So, I mean, I'm not buying the whole, he's new, like, he knows the system. Like, he knows, like, the organization. So, like, he's friendly with everyone there. But they even brought in, like, a new GM. So, I don't know, man. Like, it is, like, a brand new team. We'll see how it goes. I mean, if they all gel right, like they're supposed to, great. Otherwise... Yeah. You know, maybe they start Mattison because O'Connell doesn't like what Dalvin's doing. Who knows, man?
Yeah, I mean, Kevin O'Connell, he was the OC with the Rams.
Yeah.
So, coming from the Rams, I would imagine that Alexander Mattison's comp would be like a Cam Akers.
True. Yeah, and like they did try to like force feed him the ball at one point.
Cam Akers was the primary running back.
Yeah, in the Super Bowl, and yeah, they just couldn't get anything out of it.
Ran a bunch of gap, yeah.
So maybe it's different. I don't know, the Vikings, if they want to run gap, they're gonna have to get some linemen though. Like their linemen aren't great, and running gap, you need talented linemen. Like gap is the most lineman affected play. Like zone, like that's when like the running back kind of make a decision. Like typically, like
yeah, in the middle. Like zone is essentially when
like you can run like a zone to the outside too. Like between, I mean, like regardless, yeah, like everyone like you can run like a zone, like and you just pick a zone from where you're running. And I don't know, like they don't really run a zone. I think they run a gap there. So we'll see how that goes. They need more talented linemen if they do that though.
They do. And that's kind of what's limiting Kirk Cousins right now. Yeah.
But, I mean, it sounds like Kevin O'Connell has every faith in the world going into it. So, we'll see how that goes. Like, I'm intrigued to see if they stick to their word. I honestly think they trade him.
You think so?
If I were them, I
Cook?
would. No. Cousins.
Yeah, but he's like a $45 million hit.
Yeah, I would trade him. Dude, like, the Panthers allegedly were asking about him. I don't know. Like,
I don't think the Panthers would pay him that much when they have Darnold.
I think they would, dude. Money's not a thing. Like we just talked about, you can move money a certain way.
Yeah. Man, that's tough. Speaking of, if there is a player that you could buy low on right now in Dynasty, who would it be?
Like low overall, like running backs, wide receivers.
Yeah, like probably at half their value.
I don't know. I got one. Yeah, tell me yours, man. Because like I'm not sure who's really at half their value right now. I feel like everyone that I want is honestly like towards like the up and up. Like I would have to like shell out a little bit. Like I can't buy him though. Yeah. What about you?
Christian Kirk.
I don't think you can buy him low right now in Dynasty. I think he's honestly the highest he's ever been. Like
really?
Yeah, dude. Like if you look at his season, he's had the most productive season he's had. He just got out of a contract with the Cardinals, so he can go anywhere that he wants. So let's say like he goes somewhere like the Buffalo Bills, who he just might so happen to be on vacation with their quarterback, Mr. Josh Allen, which could be a very realistic possibility. What about him being added as like a third wide receiver there? Tell me your thoughts on Kirk to the Bills. Do you see it happening?
This brings me to a bunch of different hot takes I have about certain fantasy players. The first one is about Christian Kirk. I think that Christian Kirk is 25 years old. He's a burner. If you get him on the Bills, he's going to be a field stretcher with Josh Allen, who has one of the strongest arms in the league. Mm-hmm. My man's going to get some bomb tutties. He's going to get his intermediate routes, and he's going to get his targets.
For sure. For sure. Let me ask you this, though. So, you look at Christian Kirk, and you look at everyone else that could potentially be on the Bills' wide receiver roster there. You have Stephon Diggs. You have Gabriel Davis. You have Emmanuel Sanders, if he retires or not, is uncertain. But you really don't have anyone who's, like, really tall. Like, so I feel like something in me is kind of tugging away from that happening because you need someone who's a little taller, I feel like. Oh, I guess they also have Cole Beasley, too. Don't forget about Cole Beasley. They have him as well as a slot man. And Christian Kirk rocks the slot. That's what he really does best, I feel like.
Yeah, well, the thing about Christian Kirk is obviously he gives him that field stretching element. He gives him the burner option, so you can't...
I think that's Stephon Diggs.
Stephon Diggs can. And
like I wouldn't say that.
I think Christian Kirk's faster than Stephon Diggs, no doubt.
Let's look at the 40s, man. I truly don't believe that.
What?
I think that Stephon Diggs is a more talented burner than Christian Kirk.
Bro, what?
Before looking at their 40s, dude. Before looking at their 40s. Yeah, before looking at it, that's what I'm gonna call. What does Christian Kirk have?
Christian Kirk.
Are you just going to eat it now? What, does he run like a 4.8 or something? Are you pissed?
Bro, you know you're wrong.
What?
Christian Kirk runs he ran a 4.46 in the combine.
Okay, no, look at Stephon Diggs. Sorry, folks.
He also ran a 4.46.
Yeah, exactly.
But who do you think is faster in real time?
I would say Stephon Diggs. He's quicker.
I don't think so.
I personally do.
I don't think so.
We agree to disagree. I don't know, folks. I personally would take Stephon Diggs in a redraft or dynasty over Christian Kirk. I love my boy Christian Kirk. Absolutely love him. But I think Stephon Diggs is like 27 now? So I'm eating 2 years on that.
Essentially.
But I don't know. I think he's just been more talented and more efficient throughout. So I would have to go with my boy. I think he's going to just continue to be a proficient wide receiver.
Stephon Diggs is not faster than Christian Kirk.
Bro, we just looked at the 40s. They were
the
same.
That was one time they ran the 40.
All right, bro.
I don't even think Christian Kirk is 4.46. I feel like that was a bad 40 for him.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay. That's just the first thing that pops up, though. Let's jump off of this for a second, all right? I want to talk about a running back that I was just talking to about today about potentially making a trade for.
Okay.
Talk to me about Elijah Mitchell. What do you think is going to happen with that? My personal belief, I've never seen a 49ers running back be effective back-to-back years. You look at Raheem Mostert, he was a beast that 1 year. The year after, he was hurt. And then he just never played again.
Yeah. And
then, now we look at all these rookies that they had just drafted. They have Trey Sermon. They have Elijah Mitchell. They have Jermichael Hasty. They have just so many people in that backfield. I just don't see how I can trade. So this person, for example, was asking for a first-round pick. I just can't eat that.
No. They're trying to get him at maximum value.
Yeah, and, obviously, I understand, give the guy credit. He just had a terrific year, but, man, there's no way that you could do that because there's too many factors in the way. He's not at the top of the charts in my eyes. In my opinion, I think Trey Sermon's probably going to be the lead back next year. I think he had, a really bad camp or something. And I think if he dedicates himself...
Well, they're going to...
Go ahead.
Their offense is going to be different with Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Because you're literally talking about Jimmy G, who sits in the pocket, whatever, and Trey Lance, who has the ability to be probably
shotgun,
he's probably
pistol.
He could be the fastest person on the Niners any given play.
Yeah. And I think Trey Sermon fits that better because if you look at what the Buckeyes did in Ohio State, they run more of that scheme. He wasn't a
That's
downhill
fair.
runner.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at Elijah Mitchell. I'm not sure what they did at Louisiana Tech. Did he go?
Yeah.
I think he was at one of the Louisiana colleges, but I think he was more of like a downhill runner, and he just fit the scheme better.
So the thing about Elijah Mitchell is that you can't trade him just 1v1.
No.
You have to tandem him into a trade with like someone else.
For sure. So, or what else would, so like if you're trying to get like a first rounder,
you would have to,
you're trying to package him with, or you're trying to package it with Elijah Mitchell, what do you think you'd have to trade for?
To get a first rounder?
Yeah.
That's tough. You would probably have to give me Elijah Mitchell and...
Like a late second, probably?
You'd have to give me Elijah Mitchell and like... If I'm Amon-Ra.
Someone like that, like a prospect wide receiver.
Amon-Ra, yeah. Elijah Mitchell if you want to get maybe a late first out of me.
For sure.
I'm not giving up a mid early.
I got you on that. For sure.
No
yeah,
way.
That sounds a little more reasonable.
Yeah.
You get two people upside rather than just this one cat who...
So, like, Elijah Mitchell and Amon-Ra would probably be worth, like, the 110, 1.9.
Yeah.
Maybe 1.8.
For sure. I could see that happening. You know, sticking in the same division, another guy who I don't personally have in any of my... Like, I only have our one Dynasty League, but I've had this guy in a few of my redrafts throughout, like, the last 2 years. I've been extremely high on him since the Combine. Rashaad Penny, man. I mean, this guy, he finally showed out last year. I was so happy for him. I was so high on him last year, and he just kept breaking my heart, and it was just so sad. And so I finally had to let it go. And then this year, I tried to believe in him, had him for a second, dropped him, and then he finally showed out for us, man. At the end of the year, I don't know. I think he personally is going to keep riding this wave. But tell me your outlook on him. Tell me your outlook with him with Russell Wilson as quarterback as the Seahawks, and tell me the outlook with him without Russell Wilson.
Having Rashaad Penny on your team is like having Cole Beasley on your team.
You think so?
It gets you by in the weeks that they're there. Like, it's cool. It's nice. It's like, all right, but I got 13 points. But it's never anything crazy. It's never going to be over the top. I wouldn't even want him on my team, to be honest.
Wow. Absolutely no love for Rashaad Penny, huh?
Fuck no.
Wow. I don't know. I don't know, man. I absolutely love this kid. Coming out of San Diego State, I don't know, man. Like, he just makes my heart warm personally. Like, he's that one running back that I think I'm probably gonna have to like follow throughout his career, regardless of what happens.
What do you like so much about Rashaad Penny?
I like how dynamic he is, man. Like, it just seems like he makes plays. Like, I think he had like a pretty fast 40. I think he ran like a 4.36 or something. So like, I think he's just naturally quick. But like another thing is like it seems like he's like a shapeshifter, and it seems like he has a little bit of power behind him as well. So he just seems like he can be like that every down back, as long as like you're all right with someone getting hit a little bit, which I think he's all right with taking some hits personally.
If you were in a startup draft for a dynasty team, and you were in, let's say, round 15, so dynasty startup drafts are usually like 60 rounds or something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in like that round 12 to 15 sector, maybe even a little bit later, would you rather have Chris Carson out of the Seattle backfield or Jarvis Landry off the Browns?
Well, don't even get me started on Jarvis Landry. But if we're talking Chris Carson out of the backfield or Jarvis Landry on the Browns, I'm going to go Jarvis Landry on the Browns for sure.
Okay.
I think that him and Baker, if Baker's even the quarterback there next year, I think they have a really good relationship, and I think that Jarvis has been able to show that he's the number one wide receiver, and so at least on that team, a number one wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man. Like I think he just has it, and I think that's why he wants to get off that team. And let me just back up for a second. So I was off about the Rashaad Penny 40. It's actually a 4.47, so I do apologize.
Oh.
I had to go back and do. I don't want to spread any misinformation, but let me just say that is an unofficial 40 from the Detroit Lions.
Oh.
DetroitLions.com.
Unofficial?
Yeah.
Wait, what makes it unofficial?
I don't know, but they said it was Rashaad Penny runs an unofficial 4.47 So I don't know. That's from the DetroitLions.com. They have a video 4.47, but I still love the kid regardless. I think he's a great back, and I think that if you can get him in Dynasty, do it. Absolutely do it. I absolutely would commend it. Do it. Do it.
Nike.
Do it. For real though. I don't know, man. I'm high on the kid, and
I thought you were gonna say him.
yeah, man. I don't know. And back to like Jarvis Landry, Chris Carson, definitely Jarvis Landry, but I don't think he's on the Browns next year.
No way. He can't be.
Where do you think he goes?
Dude, I think Garrett Conley's gonna end up on the Browns first off.
Who?
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson.
I was thinking of a DB.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson. Scratch that. But I think he's gonna end up on the Browns as like the top guy there.
So walk me through this if you're an NFL GM. I know you hardly ever have to sit in that seat, but let's picture it.
No.
I know it's happened a time or two, but let's picture it right now.
Yeah.
What would you trade to acquire someone like Jarvis Landry? Like, obviously you just give up draft capital.
Like a fourth or a fifth.
You do that?
Yeah.
Do you think where do you think he would go then? Because like obviously like anyone would give up like a fourth or a fifth to get him.
I think he has a great reputation within the league. He's a veteran. He's productive.
Do you think he goes back home to like Miami?
Potentially. I could see him also like on the Chargers, who just lost Mike Williams.
Fair. Yeah, I could see that working out. They have a lot of cap down there in Charger land too.
Him on the Bills with Josh Allen.
Crazy, dude. That could be another hit.
That could be cool.
For sure.
There's a couple different options. He'll fit in anywhere he goes. There's always a spot. Shit, him with the Packers.
I would love that. I don't think they have the cap for it, but like we've said, I don't think cap's irrelevant.
Unless you trade some people.
That's fair.
Make some trades.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you clear up some cap that way. Yeah, and I mean the Browns and the Packers have a long trade history too, so I can see that happening.
Yeah, so if you're a Jarvis Landry holder, you're going to be good no matter where he goes. He'll find a way into that offense. He's a great pass blocker too. For
sure.
So he's always going to be on the field.
All right, one last hot take before we get out of here, Jeff.
Okay.
So obviously we're a couple weeks out before the combine even.
Yep.
But do you think Russell Wilson is on the Seahawks next season?
Yes. Yes.
Can you explain to me why that you think that's going to happen?
I think that all we have to go off of is like sparse speculation.
Sure, yeah.
It's stories that come out once every 4 months. It's not even that big of a story, but it's like Russell Wilson would still like this. Russell Wilson would still like that.
Yep.
But I don't think it's to the point to where Rodgers and the Packers are to where it's like explosive. I think that they can still maintain a work relationship, maintain their relevance, in the NFC West. And I think that it's just too much drama and it's too much to trade him, because if you trade him, does Pete Carroll leave too?
I honestly, if Russ leaves, I don't think Pete Carroll wants to do a rebuild, so I think he's probably gone too.
Yeah, so you're talking about losing your franchise quarterback and your franchise coach. You're losing your whole identity. Now you're like the Jacksonville Jaguars. Until you get another quarterback that...
Not necessarily, because at least you have Rashaad Penny in the backfield.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Rashaad Penny is like the Kerryon Johnson of the Seahawks.
No way.
Yeah, he's Kerryon Johnson of the Seahawks.
I don't see that happening. I think he's going to be much more effective than what Kerryon Johnson was.
That's sick. But, nah, man. If you're asking me, I think Russ is going to be on the Seahawks. I think Rodgers is more than likely going to be on the Packers, but, potentially. I know they brought on his guy who was a quarterback coach, and that was apparently to make Rodgers happy, but
definitely.
I think I also heard some good things that Brian Gutekunst said during the press conference today, in which, that Tom is his name, but
Tom Clements.
Tom Clements. He would be good with any quarterback. And who's to say that he's not there for Jordan Love to do the job that he did with Aaron? Who's to say, like, he's not their QB guru?
Absolutely, man. I mean, that definitely could be it. I mean, a lot of people are saying who would come out of retirement to coach someone like Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? If he sees enough potential, but I think a lot of people are thinking he's there to coach Rodgers.
Jordan Love he's not getting traded either, so
that
I don't think that's
I have other opinions on that personally. I think if Rodgers comes back, I think he's out.
Oh,
I truly do, sir.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah. Hey, well, kick us with a hot ass beat out of this bit.
All right, that was another episode 4. Check us out. Follow us on YouTube. Listen to us on Spotify and SoundCloud. Appreciate you guys.
Hey.
My name's Jah.
I'm Dugo. As always, appreciate you. We got some J. Cole for you on the way out of here. Thank you.
Happy fishing.
No doubt, you see these niggas tripping. Ego in charge of every move, he's a star.